The studio lights of the morning talk show glowed in a soft, cinematic haze, the kind that made every surface shimmer and every expression feel a touch more dramatic than real life. The audience filtered in row by row, their chatter rising in little waves of excitement as the production team guided them to their seats. Camera operators adjusted lenses, floor managers whispered last-minute cues, and the warm hum of the studio created an atmosphere that felt equal parts electric and unpredictable. At center stage, Joy Behar sat with an energized calm, skimming her cards but lifting her eyes often toward the entrance where the day's guest would appear. Every time that door cracked open for a crew member, the audience leaned forward, expecting the moment. When Matthew McConaughey finally stepped through, the room shifted in an instant. He moved with a slow, easy confidence, smiling at the crowd as they erupted in cheerful applause. His presence filled the space the way a well-timed spotlight does. Not disruptive, just undeniable. Joy straightened slightly, her expression brightening with genuine warmth as she turned toward him. The music faded and the cameras rolled, capturing every light-catching angle on both of them. Joy welcomed him with a gesture that blended formality and friendly charm, and Matthew settled into his seat with the relaxed posture of someone ready to enjoy the moment. As the segment began, everything flowed with a smooth rhythm. Joy asked about his new fictional project, a comedic adventure film created solely for this narrative world, and Matthew responded with his trademark, thoughtful pauses. The audience laughed at his stories, the hosts exchanged glances of amusement, and each camera cut felt timed like a piece of choreography. But somewhere between the laughter and the easy conversation, a subtle shift developed. Not sharp enough to alarm the audience, but noticeable through the small beats of timing that drifted slightly off sync. Matthew leaned in to answer one question, just as Joy moved to introduce the next, creating an overlapping moment where both paused at the same time, offering each other the floor. The slightest hesitation passed between them, courteous, friendly, but the rhythm of the show faltered for a breath. One camera operator lowered an eyebrow, sensing the drift. Joy adjusted her cards, nodding lightly as if recalibrating. Matthew offered a small, good-natured grin, the kind that acknowledged the unexpected without making it awkward. The audience chuckled softly, unsure whether the moment was planned or spontaneous. The hosts around the table exchanged politely curious glances, their expressions framed perfectly by the sweeping crane camera gliding overhead. Joy decided to move the energy forward with a question she had saved for the middle of the interview, one she expected to create a fun, spirited moment. She leaned slightly toward him, her voice filled with her usual blend of warmth and comedic timing. But before she finished asking it, Matthew tilted his head with a thoughtful inhale, preparing to answer the earlier thread they had paused on. The two moments collided softly, her question landing just as he opened his mouth to speak. The audience reacted with a collective, "Ooh," not negative, just surprised by the timing. Joy blinked, lifting one eyebrow in a playful, theatrical expression that drew a ripple of laughter. Matthew paused mid-breath, chuckling under it, acknowledging the cross-timing. But in the control room, the producers leaned forward, sensing the kind of live TV tension that could either turn into a golden moment or a confusing stumble. Joy tried again, repeating the question with clearer emphasis. Matthew, thinking she was circling back to the previous topic, responded with a reflective comment that drifted in a slightly different direction. Another soft wave of audience murmurs rolled through the studio. Joy gave a small, good-natured smile, but the mismatch in timing had nudged the energy into a delicate balance point. Not conflict, not negativity, just that unmistakable live tension when two personalities with strong presence momentarily slip out of rhythm. Matthew leaned back with a warm grin, giving her the space to continue. Joy leaned slightly forward, trying to reframe the moment with her classic comedic boldness, and the crowd leaned with her, sensing something was building. The crane camera swooped in closer, highlighting the micro-expressions behind their smiles. The slight narrowing of Joy's eyes as she recalibrated, the soft exhale from Matthew as he tried to match the new tempo. Across the table, the other hosts exchanged tiny glances as the atmosphere tightened just a hair, that almost thrilling friction that comes from two well-known personalities accidentally stepping on each other's timing. The audience reacted to every shift, a collective breath here, a soft laugh there, while the lighting reflected gently off Joy's glasses and the rich studio backdrop behind Matthew. Then Joy set her cards down, just slightly, a gesture visible enough for the cameras to catch, and the audience leaned forward instinctively. She asked her question again, this time with a light, playful assertiveness that the crowd immediately felt. Matthew's expression froze for a split second. Curious, not defensive, before he gave an amused but cautious hum, signaling that he needed a moment before answering. The timing of that tiny hesitation sent a ripple of anticipation through the room. The lights felt brighter. The air felt tighter. The audience sensed the exact second something dramatic, safe but dramatic, was about to unfold. Joy waited. Matthew breathed in. The crew watched with wide eyes, and the moment held itself perfectly still in the charged quiet between them, their expressions caught in a cinematic pause, just as the tension reached its peak. Matthew's brief pause stretched just long enough for the studio atmosphere to thicken with expectation, a kind of soft, shimmering tension that made every breath in the room feel louder than it should have. The audience leaned forward instinctively, sensing that the moment was about to turn into one of those unforgettable live TV beats where everything slows down before it settles back into harmony. Joy kept her posture steady, her expression open but curious, waiting for him to bridge the pause. The camera zoomed in on Matthew's face, catching the thoughtful narrowing of his eyes as he tried to align himself with the rhythm Joy was now setting. He finally exhaled and leaned closer to the table, preparing to answer the question she had repeated with such emphasis. But before he spoke, a small miscommunication occurred. One of the co-hosts, trying to smooth the moment, added a light transitional comment, accidentally stepping on the silence Matthew was using to gather his thoughts. He glanced in her direction with a soft, appreciative smile, acknowledging her attempt to lighten the moment, but the timing placed him in a delicate position. Joy interpreted his hesitation as him wanting to redirect or clarify, so she interjected again, gently but firmly, guiding the conversation back to her original question. The audience gave a little gasp of amusement at the layered overlap. Not negative, just surprised to see such a normally seamless show caught in the middle of a playful but intense rhythm mismatch. Matthew gave a small laugh, rubbing the back of his neck as though acknowledging the delightful chaos of live television. With a warm grin, he tried to answer her again, but his first sentence accidentally echoed a point from earlier in the interview that Joy had already tried to move past. Another soft wave of audience murmurs rolled across the studio. Joy lifted her hand in a polite,